Let's talk.
Listen to this guy. He knows what he's talking about.
Broadcasting on Goodland's Rocket 102.5, simulcasting on Goodland's 730 Gold KLOE.
Guys everywhere.
Discussing it all from the preps.
It's been a long, long time. But the Goodland Cowboys are going to play for a state title.
To the pros.
How about a walk-off grand slam? Touch of all time, Ryan McMahon.
The Blitz is presented by Pearl Chevrolet GMC, Hoover Lumber.
The Milwaukee Brewers and Robin Homers. Over at first, nobody out. Yastrzemski, a high fly ball, right field. Frelick at the wall, gone! Mike Yastrzemski, a towering home run, and the Giants go back in front, 5-4.
Yeah, every one of those mornings. Yeah, it's one of those mornings here on the Morning Blitz. Hey, good Wednesday morning, everybody. Glad you can join us here on the Blitz. I tell you what, been an interesting start to the show, that's for sure. Things not lining up right in the hour before, and on top of that, a whole bunch of other things not working this morning here on the Morning Blitz. But we are here. We are on the air on Goodland's Rocket 102.5. We are, of course, also simulcasting on 730 Gold KLOE, and video streaming available as well on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, on the Hurl Chevrolet GMC video stream. Thank you so much for tuning in, no matter what way you're doing so. Here on this Wednesday morning, where this morning we'll continue with another area football preview, talking with six-man football coach out of Weston, Brett Clow. He'll join the program coming up in our second segment here today. Look forward to having him on the program. We will also be talking about something that the NCAA is actually doing right. We will get to that coming up as well. So yeah, it's a rare thing. The NCAA is actually doing something right. And so I'll get to that coming up in a little bit. But yes, that's what's on the docket today here on the Morning Blitz. As always, if you'd like to be part of the show, would love to hear from you, love to have some company, hit me up on the FNB Bank text line, the number 785-899-2222. That's the number to be part of the Morning Blitz here on this Wednesday morning. Hope everyone had a nice evening last night, a busy night tonight, especially in Goodland, with the drink scrimmages going on. We'll be there doing some interviews with the players and coaches, and checking out some of the teams that will be competing this fall for GHS. Look forward to seeing what the Cowboys and the Cowgirls have up their sleeves here in the 24 season. I keep saying 25, but it doesn't matter. All these seasons will be done before the 25 year gets here. So anyway, want to kick off the show talking a little bit about a few just big storylines out of yesterday. First and foremost, on the diamond, the Royals have done it. The Royals have tied themselves at the top of the American League Central with the Cleveland Guardians. They get the win yesterday over the Guardians. I think it was 5-1 or 6-1. 6-1. They got a little extra run there late. 6-1, the final score. Paul DeYoung with the 2-run homer. But the Royals, in the end, are sitting now atop, tied with the Cleveland Guardians, because they have won 3 consecutive games against Cleveland, and today have a chance to take the outright lead in the American League Central. They have done it. They have erased what was a 7-game lead at one point in time that the Guardians had against the Royals. They once against the Twins had a 9-game lead. That was their largest, I think, in the season. The Guardians have kind of slowly fallen off here over the last couple of weeks, month, whatever you want to say. And the Royals continue to stay amazingly hot. What was that? The 23rd or 24th consecutive, 23rd or 24th win they've picked up since the All-Star break. They are just blistering hot right now are the Kansas City Royals, and because of it, they have now put themselves at the front, at least tied at this point in time. And with the win today at 12:10 Central, 11:10 Mountain Time, which you can hear on AM 790 KXXX, we'll see if the Royals can take over the American League Central spot. And that, once again, they're going to make the postseason no matter what. I was going to look up and see what the wild card percentage has them making the postseason. I'm guessing it's 95% or better if I had to take a stab. Let's see here. The Royals, 91.7, so not as high as I thought, actually. Actually, the Guardians still have a higher percentage of making the postseason, but 91.7%, the Royals have a shot of making the postseason here coming up late summer and into the fall. So, yeah, like I said, it's been a great stretch. They have the same exact record as the Cleveland Guardians, 75-58. They've won 3 in a row and 7 of their last 10 ball games. The Royals now sitting tied at the top with the Guardians, and like I said, a chance to take over that spot here. And I don't know, what the playoff bracket would look like at this point in time. All the division winners, kind of, or the top 2 teams get a bye in that, right? The top 6 teams, and you got 3 more there. So, yeah. So anyway, you've. Right now, the Royals with the 75-58 record, and if they were to continue to improve upon that, they would be, they're still behind the Yankees and the Orioles in the American League East. And the Yankees are 78-55, Orioles are 77-56. Then you've got the Royals at 75-58. So, yeah, when you're looking at that at this point in time. So, yeah, it's been a great season, of course, for Kansas City, as we all know. We know it's been a great season. It's been a lot of fun to watch and a lot of fun to follow. And right now it's looking like as if it's going to be continue to be a very magical season as they're going to make the postseason. I believe it's in this year, unless just a complete and honest meltdown, they're going to make the postseason. And we'll see how that all shakes out when the final chips are laid out and we know who is where in the bracket and who you're going to have to face. But I think overall it's a great start. It's in a great season and a great second half for Kansas City, no doubt about that. That's to me the biggest story yesterday out of the sporting world for sure. Also yesterday, cut day in the NFL, saw multiple different players from across the league get cut. The Chiefs cut wide receiver Kadarius Toney. These I don't think were any type of like super shock. I think is super shock at this point in time. But I don't think any super shocking thing going to be happening with Kadarius Toney being let go by the Chiefs. The Chiefs did do a little bit more adding, I feel like. They added another tight end to the roster. They acquired Peyton Hendershot from the Dallas Cowboys for a conditional 2026 7th-round pick. They also traded a 2025 7th-round pick to the Cardinals for a defensive end in the name of Cameron Thomas. So they did a little bit more trading and bringing guys in. And like I said, Kadarius Toney did not make it. Lucas Niang was another one that didn't make the roster. And I was a guy who played a little bit of offensive line for the Chiefs, especially in those years when the line play got a little thin, but he didn't make it, did Niang. So he's out at this point in time for the Chiefs. But those are some of the guys that stood out to me. The young man who was the rugby player, he did not make it. Zamet, I think is his last name or something along those lines. He did not make it. And then from the Broncos side of things, they cut wide receiver Tim Patrick as they expected, and he's expected to go sign with the Lions and be a practice squad player for a while and then possibly work his way up onto the active roster for Detroit. And then running back Samaje Perine did not make the cut as well. He was cut, as was kind of expected once again. The very interesting stat that stood out to me, and this was from The Athletic, that I thought was very fascinating, was that the Denver Broncos, with this roster here at the beginning of the 2024 season, in comparison to what it was in the 2022 season, the only season led by Nathaniel Hackett there in Denver, there are only 14 players on the 53-man roster that were on the 2022 team that are on the 2024 team. Only 14 players. So that tells you what, first and foremost, what Sean Payton thought of the roster when he probably took over. And it also shows you what the Broncos have done to try and flip the roster, retool the roster, any word you want to use there to figure that out. So, yes, it's quite interesting to see. The Broncos did keep 3 quarterbacks, Bo Nix, Jared Stidham, and Zach Wilson. I didn't see anybody on there. That they did keep a couple of their rookie wide receivers, including Troy Franklin out of Oregon. He made the cut as well. And my guess is a lot of the guys that were on that 2022 season are probably either on the offensive, let's see. My guess is you would say Javonte Williams would be one of them, Greg Dulcich, Cortland Sutton, Garrett Bowles on the offensive line, probably a couple other offensive linemen as well. And then I bet the rest are all defensive players. I mean, they've completely retooled the offense for the most part, particularly with the depth at the playmaker spots, whether that's the running back and the wide receivers, they've completely done it. And it was, and I'm guessing every Bronco fan listening would say it was needed. We were atrocious underneath Nathaniel Hackett, and we need to be redone. And now you've got this team here that Sean Payton has put together at this point in time. But I thought that stat was just fascinating to see. 14 of the players from the 2022 initial roster. So when they started the 2022 season, there were 14 guys for the Denver Broncos that are now on the initial 53 here in 2024. Just 14 of them. Like I said, a complete overhaul of the roster. And once again, it was more than likely needed. That is for sure. Yeah, that was so there you go. Cut day in the NFL. I was trying to see if also KU's Jason Bean, which we talked about him a little bit with Brian Haney yesterday. If you missed that conversation with the voice of the Kansas Jayhawks, Brian Haney was talking about Jason Bean playing for the Indianapolis Colts. He was cut yesterday. He did not make the 53 there in Indianapolis. I don't know if that means, and it's always kind of interesting when you talk NFL rosters, because just because you don't make the initial 53 doesn't mean you don't tie on possibly as a practice player. There's always that chance. But Jason B, I know, was cut yesterday from Indianapolis. So just a few other things that I saw yesterday when the cuts coming out with the NFL. And then also yesterday, something else that I thought was interesting, besides the Rockies blowing a late lead, I better put that out there. The Rockies blew a late lead yesterday. They had this is one we talked about multiple times over the last couple of weeks about how, the Rockies bullpen is actually kind of putting it together a little bit. So we were kind of talking about they were kind of putting it together. They were holding on to leads that they had late in games, and the Rockies bullpen showed up again yesterday against the Miami Marlins, which once again, these are two of the worst teams in Major League Baseball. They don't even have 50 wins to neither of them. So it's kind of to an extent, toilet bowl of Major League Baseball games between the Rockies and the Marlins. Nonetheless, yesterday, the Rockies got out to a 6-0 lead, only to see that lead balloon to 8-4 going into the top of the ninth. So you have a 4-run lead in the top of the ninth. Miami gets things going against Tyler Kinley. They get 4 runs on 3 hits. You had the bases loaded with nobody out, and Jake Berger doubled to center. That scored 2 runs, making it 8-6. And then the very next batter, Jesus Sanchez, put one out over right center, and that scored other 3 runs, giving the Marlins a 9-8 lead, and they would hold on to get that win 9-8 last night. That hurts. That's a real kick in the shorts right there. But the Rockies have experienced a lot of that over the last few years with the bullpen blowing leads late. And that's what happened right there. Kind of diminished what was a great night offensively from the guys at the top of the order. Charlie Blackmon with 2 for 4 with a couple of runs scored and an RBI. And Ezekiel Tovar had the biggest game of anybody last night offensively, probably next to Jesus Sanchez. But Ezekiel Tovar went 3 for 4, 2 runs scored, 4 RBIs. He had 2 home runs. So Tovar had a great game, but it was overshadowed by the fact that that they could not hold on to a 4-run lead in the top of the 8th. And that's what probably stings the most. But the Rockies lose 9-8 yesterday. They'll have game 3 of that 4-game set here tonight at 6:40 Mountain Time. And then another thing I want to hit here on the first segment before we get to a break was I was watching some college volleyball last night. They had the First Serve. I don't know if it's the First Serve Classic, but I think it's just called the First Serve. It's kind of like the State Farm tip-off for basketball, for men's college basketball, where they get Duke and Michigan State, and trying to think of who else comes to that. Duke, Michigan State, Illinois would be there from time to time. It's only Kentucky, the Blue Bloods. The Blue Bloods of college basketball, of men's college basketball, show up and play a little classic for people. 2 matches or 2 games back to back for the fans to enjoy to kick off the season. They're now doing that in volleyball. At least that's what I thought it looked like yesterday in Louisville, Kentucky, where they had Louisville and Kentucky, Wisconsin and Nebraska all come and play volleyball there at the KFC Yum Arena, which I think is such a unique name for a place, but I think it's the KFC Yum Center. But nonetheless, they came to play a game. They played 2 matches there. It was Nebraska, Kentucky, and then Louisville, Wisconsin. And for those volleyball fans out there, Nebraska beat Kentucky 3-1, and Louisville beat Wisconsin an upset, the 6-3 in the first rankings of the season, 3-1. So Nebraska, the number 2 team in the nation, gets a win over Kentucky. Was the 9th team. All 4 teams were top 10 teams. But that's not the point I was making. I was watching the volleyball last night, which it's always great to watch, and it's highly entertaining. But they're doing something in volleyball, at least in this First Serve thing. I don't think it's going to be something we see consistently throughout the season, but they're kind of testing it out to see how it will work for the future. But it's brilliant. They're finally going to have the cameras on the lines and do that VR, like virtual reality, in-out deal like they have in tennis. Like when you watch tennis and you see, they show that virtual reality thing where, the ball, it's out or it's in. Now they're doing it for volleyball, and it's great. It really is good. And they've got high-speed cameras, at the net so you can see if the ball is touched with the fingertip moving. And they're doing things right. And this is what needed to happen for volleyball. It's a very fast-growing sport. Probably one of the fastest-growing sports in all of sport, honestly. One of the fastest. And these are the type of things that you need to keep the game growing and going in the right direction. These are technologies that we have in other sports. Why can we not apply them to here? And volleyball, I think, is a perfect sport to have. Like they said, they did not have line judges in the back. They had, of course, the judge on the stand and the other judge over there near the benches. But the 2 officials there, they did not have any line judges. And they were using the cameras to see, if the ball was in or it was out. I think it was great. That was great. And it was kind of cool, because if there was a close call, everyone would kind of look to the official to see what they would call, because there was like an earpiece in her telling it's in or it's out. And then if there was a challenge, they'd go up to the screen. They'd show I think they showed the VR screen. Oh, it's out. It's in. And so it was just cool to see. So I'm glad they're using this technology that I think we've had for many years now and applying it to other sports, because I think it could really work well. So I look forward to seeing if hopefully that will expand as the time pushes forward. I hope it does. I really do hope that it expands. Let's see here. Going to the FB Bank text line before we get to break. Michael, Broncos fan, Heinz 57 roster. The last 9 years, describing the Broncos roster, Heinz 57. And then Mike Dart with an interesting question. Mike says, are you going to interview Greg Sharp, voice of the Nebraska Cornhuskers? Yes, I would love to have Greg on the air. I have sent out emails requesting his presence here on the Morning Blitz. I have not gotten a response from Greg Sharp. Now, I have a little bit of grace for Greg. For those who do not know, Greg Sharp was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer back in, I think it was March or April. And if anybody knows what pancreatic cancer is, that's not good. And so Greg has been fighting that and dealing with that. I do feel, I know people have asked me, do you think he's going to be calling the football games this year? I do. I think he's going to find a way to be strong enough on Saturdays to go do the games. I know he's still doing some Sports Nightly up there in Nebraska, hosting some of those Sports Nightly stuff. So he's still around, still doing stuff. I put in a request to talk to him about Nebraska football on the show. Would love to have him on, but I have not heard anything back. And like I said, I have a little bit more grace for him because I know he's dealing with a lot more stuff in his personal life, and particularly with his health, than just dealing with just the football season. So I'm sure trying to manage that and get ready for a sports season, I'm sure is very stressful. It's stressful getting ready for a sports season for me at the high school level. Although I think I have a little bit more on my plate than probably Greg does. He's got more people underneath him to help him, but there's just a lot that goes into it. I'm sure that he's very worked up in that and trying to deal with his health as well. So I'm hoping he will come on, Mike. I would love to have him on. We will see if we can get him on, but I do know that his health is certainly something that we're all hoping and praying that he gets that solved and figured out as the season progresses, as the year progresses on, I should say. So anyway, there first segment just full of odds and ends, to be completely honest with you. There's really not anything super big. Tomorrow we're going to get to our first Power 5 of the college football season, and I look forward to doing that on the college football season, because there are some amazing games to talk about tomorrow when it comes to the college football first week one. Some amazing games. We'll also do the college football Power 5. Look forward to having that talked about tomorrow, but just kind of get through this little bit of a slow part. And then once we get through this week and into next week and get some high school football and volleyball rolling, we'll definitely have a few more things to chat about. All right, let's get to break. When we come back, we're going to talk some high school football. Brett Clow, Weskin head football coach, longtime friend of the program, going to hop on the show. We'll talk with him next about Weskin football, what to expect here in the 2024 season, six-man football as well. You're listening to the Morning Blitz here on a Wednesday.
Where is the best place to go to stream your favorite NWKS radio station? NWKSradio.net. Where should you go to find out what's happening in the area? NWKSradio.net. What's happening with local area sports? NWKSradio.net. Is the weather causing delays or cancellations? NWKSradio.net. Need tickets to the next big NWKS radio event? NWKSradio.net. The place to go to be in the know. NWKSradio.net.
It's time for a check of the markets with the Anderson Trade Group on the
$3.6425. December down 2 3/4 at $3.90. March down 2.5 at $4.09, and May corn down 2 cents at $4.19 1/2. September soybeans down 11 1/4 at $9.56 1/4. November down 10 1/4 at $9.76. January down 10 1/2 at $9.93, and March down 10 3/4 at $10.07. Chicago wheat, the September contract higher 1/2 cent on the overnights at $5.08 3/4. December up 1/2 cent at $5.36. March up 1 at $5.56 3/4, and May up 1 1/4 at $5.68 1/2. Kansas City wheat, the September contract lower 3 1/2 at $5.35 1/4. December down 2 1/2 at $5.44 1/4. March down 2 cents at $5.56 3/4, and May hard wheat down 1 1/2 at $5.63 1/4. On the stock market this morning, the Dow down $38 at 41,326. The S&P down $3 at 5,641. The Nasdaq down $12 at 19,641. Gold lower at $17.90 an ounce at 2,534, and crude oil down 65 cents a barrel at 74.88. If you have any questions about marketing grain or would like to talk about risk management options, give our Colorado office a call. John Hankey or John Stiles at 970-744-4484, or in our Kansas City office, myself, Tom Saludo, Jared Law, or Tyler Ghosh at 913-748-3000.
The Anderson Trade Group, proud market partners with Kansas Farm and Ranch Radio. Find out more at andersongrain.com. The risk of loss through trading futures and or options is substantial, and each investor and or trader must consider whether this is a suitable investment. Past performance, whether actual or indicated, is not indicative of future results. The Anderson Trade Group has no guarantee that the advice given will result in profitable trades.
When challenging conditions arise, we don't back down. We up our game. outpacing the competition with innovations fueled by Bayer's R&D, keeping you equipped with an expanded portfolio, elite genetics, and additional local test plots. Channel leads the field, so you can rise above. See how you can save at channel.com/finance24. Read and follow pesticide label directions, grain marketing, and other stewardship practices.
When it comes to growing soybeans, you need an advantage. And with Zetavo soybean seed, you get a big one. 3.4 bushels per acre big. It's a yield advantage made possible by BASF genetics, proprietary germplasm, and industry-leading seed quality. Talk to your retailer today about staying ahead of the game with Zetavo soybean seed from BASF. Zetavo soybean seed.
Hola, soy Marie en el FNB Bank. Ahí ofrecemos diferentes cuentas de depósito que les puede ayudar a lograr sus goles financieros, ya sea de cuentas de cheques o de ahorros, a cuentas de cheques para negocios o una variedad de opciones de CDs. Estamos aquí para ayudarlo. Puede parar a nuestro banco que está al este del correo en Goodland o puede hablarnos a 785-890-2000 para trabajar conmigo o con algún otro miembro de FNB Bank.
Hello, this is Ron Schilling, President of the Sherman County Community Foundation. We're having a big celebration. Please join us at 7:30 p.m. on September 7th at the Price Convention Center in Goodland as we come together to celebrate all the support you have given us. Big Time Grain Company will be providing live music and a cash bar will be available. We are grateful for you and we're so excited to announce our new goals and plans for Sherman County. This is a free event and open to everyone. Hope to see you on the 7th.
You're listening to the Morning Blitz.
How about sports? You follow sports?
With Ross Volkmer.
Back here on a Wednesday morning on the Morning Blitz. So glad you could join us, no matter which way you are doing so. NWKSradio.net, the Hurl Chevrolet GMC video stream, of course, also on the radio on Goodland's Rocket 1025 and 730 Gold KLOE. We continue with a little bit of football talk. Our high school football previews. Like to always welcome on some of the area coaches and talk about the upcoming season. And we're joined now by a good friend of the program, six-man in Weskin football coach Brett Cloud joins us now. Good morning, Brett. How's it going today?
Everything is great in Weskin. Happy to get back with you and talk football.
How was the summer? What was the summer like for you?
It was great. I told you, I think last year we talked about, I got this old hippie camper van, and I didn't go out in it one time. So I'm disappointed in myself. Summer kind of got away from us. We had different things pop up that wouldn't let us do that. So I'm due for a trip. As soon as football's over, I'm probably going to get out of here.
You got the old hippie camper van. Well, hopefully she'll get and run for you if you haven't been in it in a while.
It's always an adventure if she's going to start up or not. Even when it's running well, we don't know if it's going to get us from A to B. So she keeps us on our toes.
Yeah, that makes life sweet, don't it? Otherwise you'd be bored.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Brett Clow, Weskin head football coach, joining us here on the Morning Blitz. How about summer-wise for your kids and stuff like that? Do you guys get together for some camps, for some teamwork? What's the weight room like? What do you guys do during the summer to kind of build for the upcoming season?
Yeah, summer's always been a little bit challenging here because we don't all the time have a lot of kids that live directly in Weskin. They come from different towns. From Colorado, we got kids that kind of even live up closer to Goodland. So it is actually a challenge to kind of get together. Obviously with the basketball schedule kind of through June, we don't do a ton football wise. We try to get together a few times this summer and just kind of review, and more so just to, get together and kind of get excited for what's coming. The weight room, with that, I would say we've had the best weight room since I've been here. And that's kind of at all levels, junior high and high school. And so that's kind of becoming contagious just with all of our kids and just getting in there and learning, for the younger kids. But then we've had older leadership that's really excited to get in there. And so even the guys that don't live close by, I know they're lifting because we're seeing the results. We're seeing their bodies change through the summer. But then we had consistently 5 or 6 kids, which is, half of our team, in the weight room all summer. So that was really encouraging. And I think here for the first few weeks of practice, we're seeing the results of some of that work.
Brett Clow, our guest on the Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware Hotline. He coaches football for the Weskin Coyotes. And, yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's got to be a little bit of a challenging, getting everybody together and pulling everybody in. But, what are you guys reviewing? Like, you talk about going through and reviewing things. What are you reviewing? Offensive scheme, defensive scheme, things along that? Or what are you really focusing on?
Yeah, I think, for me, I say it as a coach, you coach them in the fall, all these boys, and you kind of get tunnel vision once the season gets going. And sometimes you miss like how fast kids are developing. And then I see them through basketball and I'm like, wow, this kid's changed even from August. And so then to get back in the summer, for me, it kind of just resets me of like, that's not what this kid was last August. And so it kind of puts into perspective, like, okay, hey, we could use this kid here, or make this change, or kind of just get yourself reset as you go into the fall. And then, for us, I would say our offense and defense are both fairly fluid. That we don't have like this set program and system that we're running down into the elementary school. It's like we kind of adapt to who we got, what our talent is, and what we can be good at. And so you're installing some of the very basic, kind of just reviewing like, hey, this is what this formation is. Here's where we think we could go with this. But, for us, it's not really like a full install of, what we're going to be doing in the fall. And really at this point, we don't even know what the next 3, 4, 5 weeks could become.
When you look back at last year, what were your thoughts on the season that was?
Well, we talked a few times last year, and I was just so proud of the team that we became. So we were a non-Keisha team, so we were not eligible for the playoffs, and we were very young. We had a lot of freshmen and sophomores on the field, and so we didn't know what to expect, and we were okay with just kind of developing, playing hard, competing, and seeing where it landed. Record-wise, it ended up being a great season. We were 8-1. We lost to Shiloh early in the season, but from then on, we just continued to work hard, develop, and really kind of catapulted us to being ready for this season. A lot of guys got a lot of good experience, and now it leads into like a very exciting season coming with all of these guys who played a lot of football. We only lose one senior who played for us last year, and so now we feel like we have 10 guys back that we feel like have played and had experience and can be good players for us.
Not that there's anything that you could do about it, but I mean, when you finish with that 8-1 type of season and you weren't a Keisha team, did it kind of make you leave a little hungry? Like, boy, I wish we could see what we could do.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of in the back of your mind, but I think going in, knowing at the preseason what it was going to be, it obviously kind of curbs any sort of, what ifs. We just knew what we had in front of us, and we worked really hard. Even myself tried to just work at like, this is what we have in front of us, and it's not going to affect how we play. It's not going to affect, we're not going to take it light here. We're going to go give our best shot. And we knew that after week 9, that was going to be it. But yeah, I mean, those questions kind of like, I think it would have been fun to take that team and get that playoff experience and to see, what it's like. So, yeah, nothing you can do about it. That all lies, that's something now that's very eager for our team, and they recognize that. They know some of the opportunities that are in front of them.
Is this another year where you're not Keisha sanctioned again?
No, we're back.
In it.
We are full. Our whole athletic program is back. So football was the last thing. Everything was back last year, volleyball, track, basketball. But football, because of that 2-year cycle, we had to, we were out of a district last season. So, this year we're in with the district to be Western Plains, Shiloh, Golden Plains. Northern Valley and Tri-Plains. So that's exciting to kind of be back in the mix.
No, absolutely. And you've got to be excited with what you have coming back. I mean, to have all these players coming back that had such great success last year, to get to do that again with pretty much the same team and to get to go against against CASA sanctioned teams, have a chance in the playoffs, that's got to make it very exciting in that locker room.
Yeah, you can feel it. You can feel kind of the excitement, even leading up to, the first practice. I mean, guys were very excited to start football. And I think it's showing through the intensity of practice that, we have goals. There's excitement within the group, in our community, within our school. And so it's brought a lot of excitement into the upcoming season.
Brett Clough is our guest, Weskin head football coach on the Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware Hotline. What about this team, in your opinion, makes them, I'll just use the word special at this point in time, but makes it a really good football team in your eyes? What makes it a good team?
Yeah, we've talked about that. We've got a couple guys who coach with me. We've talked about, what makes this team good, and we've landed on our depth. We really feel like we have 10 guys that can rotate in and play well. It's not like you're subbing a guy in that is going to just be a huge drop off and you're just trying to get a couple reps off for a guy. We have a good spread of talent. We have an offensive line. We feel like we can rotate 4 guys in to our line and be able to run the football. 6-man's interesting matchup game. It's not like you can see spread teams. That's all levels of football, but there's so much space and there's so many things that you can get in 6-man that you got to prepare for. And we feel like we can throw a lot at defenses. So with our offensive line, we can kind of come right at you. We can then sub all of those guys out and put 4 or 5 receivers out there and really challenge your speed and your athletic ability. And so, week to week, our offense can look differently. And that's a cool thing. We've got a good quarterback. We have some very good skill players. We've got a couple seniors that have played a lot of football for us that are skill guys. And then we feel like we've got one kid. He was top 10 in the 100 and the 400 last year as a freshman, Carson Wright. He's a dynamic playmaker. So he's going to be a sophomore and just a guy that's a game breaker guy. And so that makes defenses, hopefully puts them on edge. And then, defensively, again, same thing. We feel like we can match what an offense wants to do. Do they want to run the ball at us? We can kind of put a bigger defensive line and physical team. Do they want to spread us out? Now we can sub those guys in to match up athletically. And so I would say it's not necessarily one player for the team. It is the collection of, we have 13 players. We feel like 10 or 11 could be on the field a lot. And that keeps you healthy. That keeps you fresh throughout a game and a season.
Once again, Brett Clough is our guest here on the Morning Blitz. What about the schedule? How does the schedule stack up in your opinion? A challenging schedule, a manageable schedule? Well, how does it stack up in your opinion?
Yeah, challenging always. We're not like, some all-star team that is just going to, blow people away. Everybody we play will be, in some ways a challenge for us to prepare for. Kit Carson, Colorado is always, we play them first. And it's always, Colorado kind of has a very specific style on how they play. They're going to challenge you physically. And so that's a great kind of week 1 test. It's exciting. It's our first game under the lights in Weskin ever. We got lights this year, so that's actually really exciting. Coming up here next Friday. And then we move into a few non-district games down in the Southwest, Rolla and Moscow. I think we'll get into the meat of our season kind of right in the middle of district. We'll play. We'll go to Cheyenne. We'll host Golden Plains, and then we'll go to Northern Valley. And those 3 weeks, you would probably project those wide open district that anybody can win. And so we'll kind of figure out then of what kind of team we are, and we hope, as coaches, we're preparing. We're not going to empty everything out week 1. It's a slow build. We're trying to just prepare, get better through this non-district so that we hit those district games and we're playing our best football.
You kind of stole my thunder on my last question there. I was going to ask, we had a texter chime in about the lights, so I was curious, what are the kids thinking about playing under the lights in Weskin, Kansas?
Oh, I mean, they're over the moon. You know, I think it's something that, you know, I know kids don't take it for granted. When you get to play football under the lights anywhere, it's a great experience. But kids in Weskin, I mean, anytime we traveled, it was just an amazing experience for us to be able to play under the lights. Now to be able to do that at home, I mean, yeah, our whole community, our school, everybody is excited. So we're having an alumni event that night. We're trying to bring guys back who have played and just kind of celebrate it'll be a monumental thing. And the cool thing about this, you know, getting lights, our school didn't purchase them. This was a community fundraiser over the course of a year to year and a half of alumni and local community and local business and just local farmers. Some, you know, the school did pitch in some money and there's some local grants, but I would say the predominant, you know, money that was raised was just donated. And so it kind of became this like organic, this is what we want. We want to see this happen. And so that's just kind of, it's made it cool because it's given ownership to the community. And I think it's just brought a lot of excitement around, you know, this team and this upcoming season and just being able to celebrate under the lights.
Well, it certainly sounds like it's going to be an exciting season of Weskin football there just south of us here in Goodland. Brett, thank you so much. Really appreciate you hopping on the show with us. We'll hopefully catch up with you as the season gets going, but thanks again for the time.
Thanks as always. It's always great to catch up.
Once again, Brett Clow, Weskin head football coach, joining us here on the Morning Blitz. Yes, an 8-1 season a year ago. Not Acacia sanctioned school, kind of knew that going in, but to have everybody back but one guy from last year's squad on 8-1 team, you got to feel really good if you're a Weskin fan. Boy, and not to get the cart in front of the horse here or anything like that, but man, how cool would it be to see a team from the town of Weskin, you know, deep into the postseason, deep into the playoffs, like if they're in the Final Four, heck, maybe even playing for a state title. Once again, not trying to get the cart in front of the horse, but to see a town of that size playing at the biggest game of the season in six-man, that'd be pretty darn cool to see from just an outsider's perspective. All right, let's get to a break. We'll come back. The NCAA is doing something right for once. We'll get to that next here on the Morning Blitz here on a Wednesday.
Even though your attention has turned back to school with events and activities, you just can't forget everything going on at home. That's where your local Hoover Lumber Ace hardware stores in Goodland and Colby come in. Keep the lawn in check with mowers, blowers, and trimmers from Craftsman, Toro, and Ego. They are still your local Benjamin Moore paint retailer, and they still have that amazing selection of outdoor grills and griddles from Traeger, Weber, and Blackstone. Plus, their helpful and knowledgeable staffs are some of the best in the Northwest. It's all at Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware in Goodland and Colby. Open every day but Sunday.
Your livelihood is important to you. You work hard to succeed in your farming operation, crop, livestock, home, vehicles, and special needs. We have you covered. Discounts are available for new business, remodeling, hail-resistive roofing, multi-policy, and many more. Optional coverage endorsements as well for machinery ingestion and equipment breakdown. Umbrella coverage for additional coverage on your home, farm, and auto. See the girls at the insurance agency at 1020 Main in Goodland or call 785-899-5011.
The Chevy Summer Drive event is going on right now at Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland, Kansas. Right now, you can get a Chevy Silverado 1500 pickup with up to $5,750 of total rebates when you trade in an eligible vehicle, or get 1.9% financing on select 2023 and 24 model Chevrolets, plus no payments for 90 days. As always, go to hurlchev.com to schedule any service or check out what's on the lot, or just stop on by in South Goodland.
Now's the time to get a great deal on select Kubota compact tractors. The LX series is part of the #1 selling compact tractor lineup in the U.S. Built with premium features and the comfort and versatility to make your land your own. Stop by your local Kubota dealer today. Right now, get select Kubota equipment for $0 down, 0% APR for up to 84 months, plus save up to $1,300. Now through September 30th. See us or go to KubotaUSA.com for full disclaimer. And check out other great Kubota products at Colby Yak Center on 305 West Holden Avenue in Colby, Kansas.
If you're shopping for a banking institution, visit with Equity Bank of Hoxie, Grinnell, and Quinter, Kansas. The Equity Bank is heavily invested in local business and activities contributing in many ways back to their community. Their employees are involved with many organizations and area events. Plus, a lot of experience comes with that staff. You'll find valuable local assistance when you bank at the Equity Bank of Hoxie, Grinnell, Quinter, and other locations in Western Kansas. The Equity Bank, member FDIC.
Your livelihood is important to you. You work hard to succeed in your farming operation, crop, livestock, home, vehicles, and special needs. We have you covered. Discounts are available for new business, remodeling, hail-resistive roofing, multi-policy, and many more. Optional coverage endorsements as well for machinery, ingestion, and equipment breakdown. Umbrella coverage for additional coverage on your home, farm, and auto. See the girls at the insurance agency at 1020 Main in Goodland or call 785-899-5011.
Bringing you the best regional sports talk.
Well, I'm awake and I speak English, so yeah, I do know what you're saying.
From scores to stories, the Morning Blitz with Ross Volkmer.
That was a great conversation with Brett Clow. Missed any of it from Weskin head football coach? You want to make sure you check out the podcast. Anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, and many more as well. But yeah, I tell you, I just keep going back to that thought. Like, boy, it really could be a very interesting football season there in Weskin. They could have a really good year. They could be making a deep playoff run. And, you know, for a town and school the size of Weskin to do something like that would be just super cool to see. No doubt about that. All right, we wrap up the show here in the last 5-10 minutes or so. Well, less than 10, less 5 to 8 minutes, really, to be honest with you. I want to start off wrapping things up with the NCAA actually doing something right for once. At least it looks like that. The NCAA has proposed, so they're at least putting their a step in the right direction. The NCAA has proposed that college football's spring transfer period be eliminated and just go to a single off-season notification of transfer window. So right now, for those who don't know what I'm talking about, college football has 2 transfer windows. I believe there are 2 15-day transfer windows. So there are 30 total days in a year to announce that you want to be transferring to somewhere else. But there are 15 days between, it's pretty much like right around the 1st of December, the first 2 weeks of December. That would be one of those that's one of the transfer windows. And the other one comes pretty much right after spring football. So like late March, early April, somewhere in that range is how I would best describe it. That's where those are. But the NCAA is saying, you know what? Let's get rid of the spring one and just make a 30-day transfer window for when the season is over. The Division I Council is going to meet in October to determine whether it will adopt the proposal, which reduces the total number of days when student athletes can transfer from 45 to 30 days. If approved, it would take effect for the 24-25 school year. The 30-day transfer window in December would become the lone opportunity for FBS and FCS players to enter their name in the transfer portal and seek a new school. So once again, you are limiting the window for kids to say, you know what, I don't like being here. I want to go somewhere else. This is a step in the right direction. You have to start corralling this in. I don't think you're ever going to probably get rid of the transfer portal. The toothpaste is already out of the tube, as we've said many times on this show. Now it's about putting a barrier up to prevent that toothpaste from running off the counter, whatever you want to call it. It's about putting up a barrier to prevent that. This is a good barrier. By limiting the amount, the 2 times a year that guys get in the portal, you're limiting possibly the movement of players a little bit. Not a lot, but a little bit. And it's a step in the right direction. I can't tell you how many times I've seen, players just, well, I'm not the starting quarterback. I'm leaving. I didn't make the 2 deep. I'm leaving. And it's hard for coaches. It's hard for players. It's hard for everybody. By putting up this barrier, you still allow some freedom of movement, but you only have right after the season to do it. After that, once you find a school, you're done. You're preventing things like what happened between Iowa and Alabama. Alabama had an offensive lineman from Iowa named Caden Proctor. He went to Alabama out of high school. He played as a freshman. Then Nick Saban retired. Caden Proctor was like, you know what? I don't really want to be here anymore. I think I'm going to go back home to Iowa and play there. He transferred to Iowa in December. He was there in the spring semester. It came to where spring football was about to get going, and he's like, you know what? I think I want to go back to Alabama. And he did, and he's back at Alabama. He took classes at Iowa for a little while to only go back to Alabama. Once again, it's those type of stories that are ridiculous and dumb. By putting this saying, hey, you have 30 days at the end of the season. If you want out, fine. Get out and go find another place. But after that 30 days up, that's it for the year. You are stuck at that school. Better for the coaches to know who you have. You know, it is going to, and, you know, this 105-man roster that's going to happen in college football in the coming years is going to change that as well. It's going to alter things too. Not going to have as many guys, and you're going to see more guys floating around. But guess what? You've got to set down. You're putting up barriers. You're putting up some guidelines and some guardrails. This is what needs to happen. There needs to be a few more rules in college athletics. I can't tell you. Now, it doesn't limit how many times you can transfer and all that stuff. You can have an unlimited number of transfers, which I still find to be ridiculous. I still go back and think about that NCAA tournament game, Illinois, and I forget who they were playing this past spring. But they were talking about, you know, this player here, he started his career at Murray State, and then he was at Texas Tech, and now he's at Illinois playing in the Elite Eight. You know, I mean, it's ridiculous how many different stops guys are having over the course of their career. Just absolutely nuts. But I'm glad to see some barriers are putting up. Hopefully the Division I Council will approve of this coming up here in October, it looks like. Hopefully they will approve of this, and I don't see why they wouldn't. I think coaches want more barriers and more rules to help be able to manage their rosters a little bit easier, I would say.
A 3-run walk-off home run, a game-winning walk-off with a walk-off.
His second walk-off hit of the season.
In walk-off fashion, that baby's go.
Wrapping things up here on the Morning Blitz. Once again, it is a busy day in Goodland with the drink scrimmages going on tonight. Look forward to seeing what GHS has to offer. But a shout out to Colby Community College Volleyball. Top out their 4-0 start to the season down in Midland, Texas this past weekend. Well, that result gave them a sweep of the Players of the Week in the Jayhawk Community College Conference. Carlotta Katai was the hitter of the week. The setter of the week was Amanda Caputi, the freshman setter. Both those, Carlotta and Amanda, are both freshmen. And then sophomore libero, Camila, I think it's Canido is how you say her name. She led the Trojans in digs, and so she was, the defensive player of the week. So, yeah, they sweep the awards to CCC Volleyball after a 4-0 start, including a sweep of 10th-ranked New Mexico Junior College. And once again, Lady Trojans are back on the court here coming up this weekend in Wyoming for a couple of events up there in Cheyenne. All right, that'll do it for our show. Thanks to Brett Clow for joining the program on the Hoover Lumber's Hardware Hotline. Thanks to you as well for hopping on the program and listening in. Tomorrow, we'll continue our area high school previews as Rollins County head football coach Aaron Schromick. His son is Ryan. Aaron Schromick's going to join the program, and we'll visit with him about the Buffalo season ahead, which should be a good one as well. Have a great Wednesday, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow on a Thursday. It's been the Blitz.
This is where classic rock legends